I just wanted to go over part of a Mehdi Hasan video where he talks about his experience on Jubilee, why he did it, what he learned, and the current state of the online debate circuit. So let's get into it because it's really interesting and quite insightful.
You, and there's already a lot of questions in the chat. Let's see. Let's start with, okay, a good, easy. Barry Price says, how did you feel as you were attacked by these people? I didn't feel great, Barry. I'll be honest with you. It's not easy to put a brown Muslim immigrant into a room full of white supremacists and then expect to, have to deal with that stuff. Look, I love to argue and debate. Those of you who know me know I love to argue debate. I literally wrote a book on it. It's one of the reasons I agreed to do this. It's like, oh, me versus 20. I like those odds. But I didn't expect this much open abuse, racist abuse to my face. Like, this is the America we live in now. One of the useful things that comes out of this debate is you can see for yourself what is out there now. We're not making this stuff up. This is the America we live in now. In Trump's America, people are emboldened to say stuff they would never dare say in public 5 or 10 years ago, certainly not 15 or 20 years ago. People saying things to my face. Yeah, Barry, it wasn't great. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't think we should. I always say this, like Muslims, brown people, immigrants, black people, we're not born with thicker skins than everyone else. So, of course, it hurts. Of course, it's upsetting. I don't want people to know that they're getting under my skin. But racist abuse is something we shouldn't normalize or think is okay as part of a debate. So, no, it wasn't great. But, I know how to hit back harder than most people do. So, I was able to kind of take some of these people down and turn the tables on them and throw some of it back in their faces. But look, it's not pleasant. Josephine Olsen says, I was so impressed with your quick recall of good arguments. Thank you very much. I'm one of those guys who like crams for exams. So I'm night before. I'm imbibing everything. If you ask me now to say again what I said on when I taped that, I probably couldn't remember, to be honest. This is let's keep going through these. Have we got JH asks, did you fear for your safety being there? A lot of us viewers were nervous seeing the vitriol in some of the participants' eyes. I did, and I took security with me. And unfortunately, the world we live in now is, when we do public events, we have to have security. Unfortunately, journalists now are targeted, judges are targeted, activists are targeted, politicians are targeted, members of Congress are having their security budgets out. We live in America always was a violent country, a heavily armed country. We now live in a country where the president of the United States and some of his media acolytes are inciting violence all the time. So, unfortunately, you shouldn't have to fear for your safety in a televised debate in a TV studio. But look, it would be ridiculous not to worry. I mean, did you guys see the second guy? I think his name's Richie. He's been tweeting at me for the past couple of days. Second or third guy in the green t-shirt, appropriate green t-shirt, acting like the Hulk. He was like, I have this thing where if I get mad, I just have to stay calm. That's a weird thing to say. I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is going to be a very interesting 2 hours. Like the second or third guy who's come to sit opposite me has warned me that he's not allowed to lose his temper. Where am I? So yes, it wasn't great. And sadly, we have to kind of take these measures of security. Charlie Henderson asks, I've read Win Every Argument, but generally, how the hell do you keep that many facts, dates, and statistics just at the ready like that? There's no way you could have predicted how unhinged they immediately got, yet it felt as if you had a response for everything. So, Charlie, just to expand on what I said, one thing is, I'm very good at cramming and prepping last minute. Even when I was a student in school and college, I was the night before guy. I was the guy who would be looking at my notes as I walked into the examination hall just to kind of have the immediate recall. Obviously, I'm older and grayer now. The memory isn't as good as it was, but I do cram a lot of stuff in. That's one thing. Two is I live and breathe this stuff. So, a lot of it was already there because I've debated this stuff for years. And three, response for everything. Unfortunately, for my sins, I spend a lot of time watching what the far right say. I watch Fox. I read right-wing sites. I'm familiar with their arguments. So, Charlie, you may have noticed there were moments where I clocked things very.
Which is interesting because, like, why would you cram for this? Like, you're talking to fascists. Very rarely do they have a cogent argument. Like, often they have either a kind of talking point which is not based in facts, reality. They have a whataboutism. Like, they will jump on something like that you've perceived, they've assumed about you. I've got a kissing video with Jimmy the Giant coming up tomorrow, and no arguments from kissing. It's just a perceived attack. And he goes on about this video. Like, they don't really have arguments. So you don't really have to prepare that much for a fascist. Obviously, Mehdi's really good and he researches his stuff. But very rarely do they have arguments. Often it's a grievance. it's a bad study at best. So you don't really have to like prepare that much. It's more looking for their tactics of deflection.
Quickly, because I know these people. I know where I didn't know those specific people. Jubilee picked those people, not Zateo, obviously not me. I just turned up as a participant. But I clocked those types of people. So when the Hulk guy was like, well, there's a genocide, I'm like, you're white genocide guy. When the guy with the baseball cap who wanted me out, who pretended he was an economist till I called him out, when he said, well, I'm being replaced. You're a great replacement guy. When our fascist friend was quoting General Franco, I was like, you're a fascist. It's very clear. I mean, the Franco debate goes back to the 1960s.
And it is incredibly true. Like you can get a good indication of people on the right by their talking points. Are they obsessed with immigration, wokeness, cancel culture, freedom of speech, the trans debate? You can get a good sense and read off them quickly by what their priorities are. And you should really go with what people's priorities are. They talking about inequality, housing crisis, like real issues that really face impact everybody's lives? Or are they talking about these fringe conspiracy theories like the great replacement theory or, white genocide? Like you can quickly get a good sense of where someone's priorities lie.
Because I've been following this stuff for a long time, that's why partly I have a response for a lot of this stuff. But I appreciate you reading the book. And as I say in the book, preparation is key. And I did a lot of preparation.
If you've not read his book, by the way, it's amazing. Like I've read it a few times now. It's really good, and it's about preparation. It's about staying calm. It's about listening to them and responding to them, not like assuming what they're saying. And really, just it's about picking. Just you can't really with these people. You can't pick out every bit of a misinformation. So you've got to zone on a couple of, or at least one talking point. So latch onto something quick. You've said that, right? Let's go into that contradiction or hypocrisy or kind of bad talking point. You've just got to focus and just really zone in.
For the Jubilee debate, even though my opponents did not, clearly.
Liking this video? Then don't just watch, hit like, share, and subscribe. And tap the bell so you never miss a video or live show. But if you want early
Subscribe,
access to
but if you're not already
exclusive content,
subscribed
then you
to
have to head to
CTO?
zeteo.com
Zeteo?
and subscribe now. You'll be supporting fearless, independent journalism.
Hassan Yarkhan says, you've interviewed world leaders and debated policies for years. How did this experience on Surrounded, facing openly fascist individuals, compare in terms of emotional and intellectual challenge? What a great question, Hassan. Well, first of all, it's very different. Even if they hadn't all been freaks and loons, these are quote unquote ordinary people. Actually, many of them turned out to be kind of online influencers. But it was pitched to me as, ordinary people. These were not.
Yeah, that's where he was lied to because Jubilee does enable this kind of massive divisive rhetoric, and they have a roster of far right, fascist, neo-Nazi influencers that they have come on. They're grifters, and he was sold a lie. Like these are normal, average Republican voters, and they weren't. Like they have a whole slew of these kind of micro influencer Nazis who are just trying to get clout. The guy, famously Connor, who lost his job, has raised $20,000 from neo Nazis. And Mehdi talks about it. Like, should we engage with these people? And I think it is an open debate. I don't think there is a definitive answer. I think it's up to the individual, essentially.
Politicians. These are not people in power, not the kind of people I interview for a living. So just as a general rule of thumb, you have to adjust your style of debate, right? You're dealing with members of the public, not people in power. So your tone, your style has to be very different. You try not to come across as patronizing, although halfway through the debate, I kind of lost that. There's no way you cannot patronize some of these people who are so dumb in the things they say. You'll remember the woman who came up to me and said that you can't be an American and an immigrant, and then revealed that her parents are Americans who were immigrants. Anyways, so sometimes you do end up being patronizing.
How do you deal with these people?
The experience was very different. As Charlie just mentioned, there was a sense of slightly foreboding and insecurity and fear because these people, is one of them a nut job, which you don't feel when you're interviewing politicians. Emotionally, yes, it was a lot more emotional because A, they were very personally abusive, and that's not great. B, I'm thinking all the way through that I have kids. I have friends and family in this country. I live here. I've been here 10 years. I've been an American citizen for 5 years. This is our country. These are the people who are our neighbors, people in our workplaces, people in the grocery store aisle. That's what was so scary and emotionally disturbing about the surrounded experience. And again, I'm waiting to see those of you who criticize me for doing it. I'm sure some of you wish I hadn't done it. And I'm on the fence myself as to whether it was a good or bad thing to have done. But one reason it was a good thing to have done is it exposed a lot of these people. It wakes people up to these are some of the people in the United States right now. This is 20, 30, 40% of the public.
Yeah, I think that's the argument for it. Like, just to see how just insane these people are. And a lot of people will, like, your average person will see that and distance themselves and go, okay. But unfortunately, a lot of fascists and Nazis aren't so explicit with it. Like, they aren't, like, ideologically a fascist. They may support fascist policies, like deportation and quite, anti-trans policies against puberty blockers and so-called trans spaces, but they're not, they wouldn't call themselves fascist. And we have to like differentiate between someone who is ideologically a fascist, I'm a fascist, and people who kind of have, like vote for Trump. They may not be a fascist, but they have voted for a fascist. And I think that distinction is very important. But also as well, it's like Mehdi Hasan actually got more racial abuse. Jubilee cut a lot of this stuff out because they're trying to appeal to the right wing and kind of making the right wing like, well, not look good, but less bad than they actually are, which is really interesting because Jubilee clearly is siding with right wingers here. They're not like trying to give a neutral, balanced view of these things. It's like they're trying to launder the right wing a little bit here.
I don't know what percentage you want to put on it, but it's a very loud, vocal, and growing minority. So that emotionally affected me, Hasnain, to think about. This is when I left there and drove home with my colleague and the security. We talked in the car about like, what is America effed? Like, what is the future of America if these are some of the young people in there? Let's keep going. Let's have a look and see. Imran Kukdawala says, I sound like your mum, but man, I was worried about you as I listened to those people spewing venom from their mouths. I just want to ask, were you able to sleep that night? Yes, I went out for a great Chinese meal in LA. That actually it was a great Uyghur meal with our friends, the Uyghur Muslims, that evening, and had a good time with friends and family and ate lots of ice cream. So I'm always able to sleep well after ice cream. Let's keep going. Oz Hack says, this was quite the show. Your performance was extraordinary. Thank you, Oz. Has this reached audience who don't usually see you or other liberal media? I don't mean lost because crazy people, but people in the middle who may realize that political insouciance is costly. How do you measure who it has reached and how do you further that type of reach? Will you see you on a Joe Rogan type platform? So a lot of questions there. Look, it's a good question. One of the reasons I did it, and people have said, why would you do this show? What did you achieve? I don't know what I achieved. That's something that will take time to really work out. But one reason I did it is because I'd watched Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, all these right-wing shock jocks do surround it. I watched very few progressives have done it. Destiny, if you can call him a progressive, he's certainly not in Gaza, had done it to defend the Democratic Party. Sam Cedar, my good friend from the Majority Report, he did it. And Sam advised me to do it. He said, you should do it. It's a whole new audience. To go back to Oz's question, you do reach people you're not going to reach before. I mean, this is, for those of you, I don't know how many of you on the call are 30, 40, 50, I'm in my 40s. People who are in their teens, they watch Jubilee media. My kid said to me, Jubilee. My niece said to me, Jubilee, you should do it. And I was listening to people saying, oh, wow, this is a really big thing. Since the show came out this week, I've had multiple people tell me, my kids have been watching this. My kids have been asking me, do I know you? It's a huge young audience. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing that young people in America are all watching Jubilee, young people around the world, that's a different debate. But the reality is it has a huge audience. I mean, it's already, as I say, 7 million views, and that's just on YouTube. So for me, I want to go where audiences are at, within reason. But I do want to go where audiences are. I've never been of the journalism school of thought that says, I just want to preach to the converted. I just want my own little small echo chamber. You remember that phrase, if a tree falls in a wood and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a noise? And I always wonder about that phrase. Like, I can do great journalism, great monologues, great interviews, write great articles, but if no one hears or sees or reads them, what impact are you having? I became a journalist to have impact on the world, not to sign up to a purity test, not to feel good about myself, not to get rah, rah, rah from a crowd of like-minded people. And to have impact, you got to go and get big audiences. It's one of the reasons I joined MSNBC. It was a mainstream platform that I didn't agree with everything about that channel, but it gave me a huge mainstream platform. And one of the reasons I did Surrounded was to reach a lot of young people who would never have heard of Zateo and never have heard of my arguments. Forget Zateo, forget promoting this media organization that I've built, but the arguments that I care deeply about: the Constitution, civil liberties, human rights, immigration, Gaza. Those arguments, it was worth making. I probably didn't get through to most people, certainly didn't get through to anyone in that room. But I do hope, to quote Oz, the people in the middle who are watching, I hope they saw it and thought, wow, the right-wing arguments really are bullshit. Mehdi really exposed it. That's my hope.
I completely agree with this approach, and I do think it is a double-edged sword. When you cover like Piers Morgan or anyone on the right, I try not to cover Candace Owens or Stephen Crowder. I'll do Sargon. There's people I kind of do reluctantly, but it is a double-edged sword, and you have to realize that this stuff has been normalized. It's there. It's out in the ether. Like far-right demagogues are just mainstream now. Candace Owens. I've heard of people, average people, like saying, "I know you won't like this, but I saw a Candace Owens video." That's incredibly dangerous, in my opinion. So I think you have to engage on some level. And I think Mehdi Hassan's in a unique position where he is highly competent in debate. He's, a real journalist. He's created ZTO, CTO, a really million subscriber YouTube channel that's doing really great work. And I think because he's a bit older and he's clearly an authority, I think it works. Whereas like Destiny, yeah, he's a good debater, but it becomes just this kind of clickbait thing. And I think Mehdi Hasan's in a unique position where he can just make these like young kids just look stupid, just like with arguments. And I think that's really good. But again, it's an argument. I wouldn't condemn someone who went on this and go, "Oh, why are you doing that?" That's your decision. And I think it is, again, a double-edged sword. But do you engage with these people or not when they're going to be there? You've got Nick Fuentes talking to Candace Owens and people going, "Oh, this is a normal, great debate." Like, we have to challenge this stuff, I think, on some level.
Karen D says, what would you say or do differently? What would I say differently? I don't think I would have said much differently. I just watched it back. I think what I said, I stand by what I said. Maybe I wouldn't have been going all the way through if I'd known what I was going up against. I literally was stunned in some moments. And apologies if it's the connection isn't great. I am on vacation using vacation Wi-Fi to come to you all. I hope you could all hear me. But what would I do differently? Well, I wouldn't be as surprised if I'd known what I was going to. I genuinely was surprised by just how extreme they were. Would I have done the show had I known what I know now? That I don't know, and I think I definitely would have leaned towards maybe thinking twice about doing it, because I'm not someone who sits down with fascists or racists. I said this in the Jubilee show. I said I don't debate fascists. People say to me, why don't you have X or Y on your show? And I say, election deniers or climate change. I don't have them on my show. You may notice I love a good argument. But when I wrote Win Every Argument, I said this in the book: good faith argument matters. Reality-based arguments matter. So there's no point just doing arguments for clickbait. And that's what this turned into in some ways. But again, in my own defense.
But the problem is, on the right today, there's no such thing as a good faith argument. There just isn't. Like Konstantin Kisin, you'll see my next video with Jimmy the Giant. There's no good faith debate. And that's the sad thing, is that this normalization of the far right and the mainstreaming of fascist talking points means that we're not in the same reality. Like left and right, we're just so at odds with evidence. They don't care about evidence on climate change, trans validity. They don't care about economics. They don't care about the failures of capitalism. You can't really have a good faith debate. Like, it's very rare. Like, when was the last time online you saw a good faith debate between left and right where there was actually a discussion about issues with based on evidence, like trying to solve problems? Like, I can't even remember. Like, and we'll end there, because on that depressing note, we'll end there. Like, comment below, like, when was the last time you saw a good, like a genuinely good faith argument where people were bringing evidence, they had like solutions based in policy or like actual tangible like solutions? Like, it doesn't happen. I think it's almost designed that way. Like, they like the left love talking to themselves. Like, we love debates, and I think debates are important. But also, like, what are the solutions? Like, how do we engage with people on the other side? Because they certainly don't want to engage with us at all. But I think we have to try on some level, right? Comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.